All right, we're live. Thank you very much. My name is Che. This is Prepper Logic. I'm joined with J.J. Johnson of Reality Survival, Eric of the Lord Humongous, formerly known as the Prepper Trifecta, where we get together and we do different discussions on a wide variety of preparedness topics. Today we have a special guest. His name is Jason Charles. Jason Charles started a network called the New York, I've written down here, New York Preppers Network. I noticed there's 2 chapters, Jason. Is that correct? Or back in the day, were 2 chapters. APN chapter is what I have here, at least the one that I'm signed up with.
Right.
Where he teaches and interacts with everyday people and works on preparedness skills in real life, which is something that I love to see, as opposed to people just making videos. So we invited Jason here today to specifically talk about Candida auris, or the general notion of this fungus outbreak in New York, or even United States for that matter, that happened a couple of weeks ago. And to start off, I'll just say that I'm kind of baffled at how it's been so under the radar with respect to the media and the concern with the average citizen in general, because I know me and Jason were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. But first off, why doesn't everybody say hi, and we'll have some questions and banter about that and go from there. So
who wants to go?
Welcome, everybody. Go ahead.
That's Eric.
Yeah, Eric.
JJ.
Channel.
JJ, can you hear us?
Oh, yeah. I'm JJ from Reality Survival. Yep. Glad to be here.
And my bad, Jason Charles, a.k.a. The Angry Prepper. And when this video is done, we will definitely put a link for his channel in the description, or probably one of my members will Google it and put it in the chat box. So, Jason, when you first heard about Candida auris, or this virus, a fungus outbreak, did any alarm bells go off in your head that said, okay, this could be something potentially bad?
Not really. I mean, for anything that happens, anything that I get a wind of, I take it slow, right? I don't jump the gun. I don't want any of my followers or people in my group to sit there and start screaming the sky is falling. When I started reading about this, I just wanted to take note of what was going on and make sure that everybody had the correct information and not start screaming about how it's killing millions of people when it's only killed a few thousand. I mean, there is something in the back of my head, obviously, that's letting me know that this can be bad. And right now, it's only affecting, it seems to be, the young and the old who are in the hospitals with surgical procedures done to them. So that being said, it hasn't really made a jump to infecting the healthy. When it affects the healthy, now we're in trouble.
So that's what you'd be looking for, is the danger sign of it becoming an actual breakout, is when otherwise healthy, non-immunocompromised people maybe started getting it for like no apparent reason.
Exactly, right? So if that starts happening, now we have a big issue. And you want to follow something like this from the beginning so that you have an understanding of what it is. And you want to follow CDC and whoever to see if they're going to mention something about it mutating and becoming stronger. So right now it's affecting, like I said, the weak, old, and young. That's where, and I hate to say it this way, you want it to stay. You want it to stay there. Once it starts affecting healthy people, like I said before, we're going to, it's going to get bad. Yeah.
I get, one thing that concerns me, Jason, we talked about this in the past. There was one instance where I think it was hydrogen peroxide. I could be mistaken. I'm not a medical professional. They found one old gentleman in a hospital. They cleaned out the room. They found the presence of Candida auris, cleaned out the room, and they found that they basically needed to remove the tiles. They had to burn the interior of the room, remove the tiles and burn it in order to kill this fungus. So when you say, if and when healthy, sure, understandable. That's when people should be a lot more concerned. At the same time, too, in my worldview, it doesn't look like this is going backwards. It's going to disappear. It looks like it's here, and it's just a matter of time before it evolves to that level. Would you agree? Disagree?
It seems to be. You're right. It seems to be here. The cleaning process for it right now is outrageous, right? So that room you were talking about, they had to scrape the tiles off. They had to scrape the ceiling tiles, take the ceiling tiles out, scrape the walls, scrape the floors, and they were still finding traces of it. That is a problem. There are people who do have it on their skin as well. I think it's healthy people who have it on their skin. They're just not being affected by it right now. They saw, I can't remember the number, but I'm going to say a little over 200 people that had it on their person, but they weren't being medically affected or physically affected by it. So does that mean they could pass on to someone else who has a compromised immune system? Absolutely. But they haven't gone further than that as far as the CDC has been reporting. So I don't know if anybody outside of the hospital has gotten sick.
So that brings up an interesting question, if you don't mind. Why are we only seeing this in hospitals? Like, is there some sort of a common denominator between the hospitals and, like, you know, maybe the HVAC system or something that is creating these spores or whatever in the hospitals? Because to only find it in such a clean environment is kind of a weird thing, don't you think?
Hospitals are not as clean as you think they are. They're so antibacterial, everything, antifungal, antibacterial, that the funguses, bacteria are finding a way to become stronger and essentially overcome what they used to be killed to, right?
So the good bacteria is killed also, and that lets some of the bad bacteria flourish.
Right, especially on the human body. Whereas if you weren't as, I hate to say it, clean, we wouldn't be attacked by something this, and it's not basic. I mean, this thing has been resistant to all of the medications they've thrown at it, right? And again, cleaning the room, they've used probably everything under the sun to try to kill the thing, and the only way they can come up with it is, like you say, burning out a room. That is pretty strong. The hospitals, they're so clean, bacteria are adapting. They're adapting, they're becoming stronger. That is a bad sign. So, you know, a senior citizen home, not an assisted living, but a senior citizen home, they have possibly the most bacteria you'll ever see in a clean facility. You know?
Sure.
There's nothing that can be done at this point other than either the human body adapting or scientists finding something stronger to kill that bacteria. But now is that something stronger going to kill us as well, right? So we have to wait and see. We have to wait and see if this dies out. You know, like Shay said before, it seems like it's here to stay. I don't think it's going to go anywhere.
It's up to about 1,056 cases now or so. So
that's in the United States, right?
Yeah, just in the United States, according to the CDC. Yeah, which is, you know, is considerable. It's not like just a few cases of Ebola and everybody was freaking out, you know, and then nobody's talking about this, so it is a little bit unusual.
So for people who have never heard of this before, what does it look like? What are the symptoms? Like, what is this basically? Other than, like, we know it's a fungus. What does it look like when someone's infected? And what are what's the prognosis? Stuff like that.
That is the problem I'm having. I've been looking for what the symptoms are, and I can't find anything. I can't find what the rash looks like. I can't find if it's a red spot, it's blotchy. Like, it's not that they're hiding it. You know, I think that's what it's coming down. I think they're just not telling us directly what it looks like. I couldn't find anything on Google, and I couldn't find anything in the CDC. The only thing I know is that it takes 90 days from the point of infection for you to die. That is a long time. So I'm assuming for 90 days, your body starts shutting down systematically, obviously, right? You don't, you're not dying suddenly and it's taking 90 days to kill you. It's obviously feeding off something in your body to drain you down that slowly. So that is a slow killing disease or bacteria, if you will. Most bacteria are
most people probably, well, even that 90-day period too, it's not like the next day you're feeling sick. It's probably a duration of a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks where you're still going to work, you're still in the subway, you're still interacting with people, potentially spreading the disease. Jason, what has been the consensus within the community, your neighbors, your workplace, stuff like that? Are they people that you know in general in New York with this horrific fungus? I mean, do they care? Are they on Facebook? Do they care? Do they not care? Is there any concern?
There seems to be zero concern, only because most people don't know about it. You know, so again, only the newspapers are reporting it, and I think the Post reported it twice, Daily News once, and then I haven't seen it. I've seen it on New York One here, which is a local news channel, but that's it. I haven't heard anything else. And a lot of guys, when I talk about it at work, they do not know. They have no clue. Right. So maybe they're waiting for the numbers to get high. I don't know. I don't know why there's such a hush hush when, again, Ebola, affected, what was it, like 10 people, in the United States, and everyone lost their mind. You have over 1,000 infected and most likely going to die from it, and no one's really talking about it.
Well, apparently, I'm looking at a download, a PDF download from CDC, and it's saying that basically the CDC, they're just learning about it.
Right.
Like they're still actually doing research and trying to understand everything as well. And the only symptoms they mention are fever and chills that don't improve after antibiotic treatment for suspected bacterial infection. And it says that they're already sick with something else usually. So
Right.
it really, you really don't. It's pretty vague and nondescript at all, really.
Right. Exactly. That was my problem I was having. I'm like, chills and fevers, man, that's anything. That's
Yeah.
if a kid could sneeze on you in a train and you'll get that, in a couple of days. So because they're learning it, what the thing is, it took CDC by storm. Because, like I said, they've never seen this before. This is the first time something like this has shown itself, and it's been this, I guess, aggressive, if you will. Because, again, a 90-day, and I think the kill rate now is 60%, right, or 50%, or something like that. So that's pretty high, and they're concerned. But now, if the infection rate or the mortality rate is 50, 60%, that means some people are surviving it, which is, again, a good thing, right? If the mortality rate moves up to 80 and 90, hell, even 70%, we're screwed, But 50, 60% is pretty good. I think it's that high. Don't quote me on it. It could be a little lower than that.
So is it possible that it can only live in a relatively, for lack of a better word, like germ-free environment? Or like, I mean, is it? I just go back to the thing that it's only found in hospitals. Like, there's got to be a common denominator for why it's only thriving there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's another thing that they're having a hard time. Now, there was another bacteria in a hospital. It was a kids' hospital in Jersey. I am not sure if it was this, but they were talking about how a couple of kids had died from it, and they were scrambling to find out why. But I'm not sure if it was this virus or not. But again, it seems to be sticking to the hospitals as of right now, as far as infections go. I don't know if there's been any infections outside of that. I mean, the CDC, like you said, they're new to it, and they're updating as they come to new conclusions and new information.
Yeah.
Could be as simple as, right now it's relegated to compromised individuals, and that's where they're congregating, that's where you're seeing the outbreak. Whereas it is out there, we're just not getting sick with it yet.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, yeah, I would probably say so. Like I said, I read somewhere that it has attached itself to healthy people's skin, but they're not showing any signs. So I don't know how far that's gone. And I think they were up to, the last time I read was 258 people, healthy people, had this on the outer part of their skin. So obviously not in their body, but they're carrying it around.
So it looks like it was first discovered, and I don't think that was in the United States, but first discovered in 2009.
Right.
Started overseas, and then it kind of migrated here. I don't know, when did it show up here in the States?
I think 2000. What year is it? 2019. What
Okay, this year.
No. I think it was 2016 maybe.
Oh, okay.
It was in I think it was in Ohio or Chicago. I can't remember which one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Chicago
so
is one of the
Chicago.
higher cities.
This article says that the CDC alerted doctors in June 2016. So yeah.
Right.
It's odd how we get some information through credible sources, like the CDC, and then some are media related. And over here in Canada, they're like I was telling Jason the other week, they're like little snippets. Oh, there's an outbreak here, and oh, the sports, and oh, the weather. Very brief, but to me, I see like a continuation of. It's just slowly becoming worse and worse. And right now, we're starting to see people with N95 masks walking around in Toronto, Canada. Like it's just going to become more regular place. We've got Candida Auris now. What's it going to be next month? A few months from now, or next year, it's going to be something else. I just see it. I don't want to fear monger or anything, but it's almost like it's eventually going to happen. Do you have anything on your person, Jason, or in your vehicle that you carry, just in case, in terms of this thing going airborne, like masks or anything for respiration?
Oh, I do. I actually keep a bunch of them at home. Now, there's a mask that was it's way better than N95.
Okay.
It's a complete seal around your face. And the guy who started this mask got it tested. And N95 means 95% of toxins don't get in, right? So this one would be classified as an N100, right? So it's 100% blocks toxin. The problem is he ran into this game where people wanted this much money from him to push that and this. Politicians, basically, screwing him over. So forget our health, forget the fact that this thing actually works. 3M, who are, I guess they have lobbyists, right, if that's how it works, and other medical companies, they didn't want this thing to come out. It would have destroyed him. Absolutely destroyed him. So he gave me a bunch before he closed up shop. And he was looking to give me probably I was hoping another couple of hundred. What I was going to do was to everyone out there, preppers that is, I was going to send them 2 or 3 so that you guys could push this thing, because the politicians are compromising our well-being now because they want more money for this thing that was absolutely great. I mean, he did a video where he put the mask on, sealed the mask around his face, put the hoodie over his eye because it came with our eye shields, and he had a guy spray him with mace. Not mace. It was like a foam mace, completely covered. And the guy didn't react to it whatsoever. This thing is by far one of the best masks you'll come across.
For this Candida specifically, though, can't you get it just by physical contact? So then a mask wouldn't necessarily protect against it, correct?
Right. That's why I'm myself confused as to whether or not it affects your lungs. Right. If it's on your skin and it stays there, that's one thing. But if it gets into your body, your bloodstream, your lungs, is that what it's doing? Is it working its way through your skin into your blood, or is it spores being inhaled into your lungs and working its way from there? And that, again, I can't find any information on that as well.
Yeah. So what do you suggest to most? Because we're all preppers here on this channel, most of us. So like most people would be looking to see what we could do to deal with this if it does break out. Is there anything other than just general hygiene and like pandemic procedures? Anything specific for this?
I would hate to commit to this, but if it got to that point where we had to start covering up, you would have to also. This is one of those viruses where you read in the book where you would have to cut yourself off from the rest of the world. Right? For those who are not infected in your family, that's where you're staying. And if you guys have to go out, you have to put on some kind of bodysuit to go out. If you're healthy and it still doesn't infect you, then that's great. But I don't know. There's nothing right now that you can take, rub on your skin, or kill. So if it became that bad where it jumped to healthy people, you're obviously going to want to stay indoors. And you're obviously going to want to put on not a biosuit, but one of those medical suits, just to keep skin contact from bumping into somebody, and now you have it.
Yeah, and I guess there's no way to tell just how deadly it would be for healthy people. Anyway, because I think I read that something like a third of people who got the infection ended up dying, or maybe half. but those were the already compromised people. So hopefully it would be slightly less for healthy people, but there's no way to know, I guess, because that would probably be a mutated form of it anyway. So maybe it would be worse.
Right. Well, and that's what we're hoping. We're hoping it doesn't mutate. We're hoping it stays here and, continues doing what it's doing and or dies off.
Right.
Anything other than those two options, like I said, we could be screwed.
Interesting.
I've got a question here from a gentleman named Mr. Morris, and I guess posed to everybody. I'm not too sure myself. Has the CDC or the news outlets spoke on the people that have been cured? Anybody aware of anybody that's been cured of this Candida auris?
Yeah, so it is. It can be treated. I just saw.
Yeah, I think it's from what I've read. It's resistant to the antifungals, but most of it's not completely invincible to it. So I mean, I think like if there's a 30% death rate or whatever, I'm assuming that means that the other people have beat it.
It uses a series. It's treated with a series of antifungal drugs called echinocandins. I'll put it in the chat here. I don't know how the hell to pronounce it, but so yeah, apparently it's a yeast is what.
Yeah, it's some kind of super yeast.
Yeah, and I'm just perusing the CDC stuff here as you guys are talking, and it seems like they're mostly concerned with like we talked about earlier, the medical facilities, nursing homes, stuff like that, but also the people at highest risk are people who use catheters or have some kind of an intervention going into their body, like an IV or something along those lines.
Kind of breach in the skin, basically.
Yeah, some sort where there's some sort of a weakness. Yeah, and a lot in the old people. Yeah.
Yeah, in general, the skin's a pretty good barrier against stuff like that. But if it's obviously compromised, like they were talking about people who had surgery who could get it, or the catheters, or any sort of open membranes, I think are most at risk.
Yeah, I didn't see anything about it being airborne or any of that kind of stuff, but I think but it does specifically say they need to study it more because they don't really know how, Yeah,
I mean, I was kind of surprised to find out they'd only really known about this thing since 2006, which is not even 15 years.
2009.
Yeah. Or 2009.
Japan is where it started out. I just
right. 10 years, really, that's nothing. I mean, we're still battling stuff that we've known about for 50, 100 years. So
yeah.
We got a question here, which I think we already answered. Of course, here trainer says, "What's the death rate?" I've read mixed things in different sources, 2/3 to half within 90 days, basically, as we kind of touched on. Jason, I got a question for you.
Yes,
What's your go-to security plan if, let's pretend it becomes airborne 6 months from now, and you've got to wear masks and you've got to go to and from work? What would you change from a security perspective in your day-to-day actions? If you don't want to get into that, that's cool.
You're saying if it goes airborne?
Sure.
Like person to person airborne?
Yeah.
Because the spread rate on that is like fucking
insane
fast. I mean yeah. Like, have you ever seen the movie Outbreak? Come on, man.
Right.
Well, I guess would that be bugging out? Would that be bug out time for you, Jason? When airborne, if it was confirmed?
I think so. You know what I'm more curious about if it goes to airborne? Is it how resistant is it to the UV rays, the sun? Right? So a lot of like airborne diseases, things like that, they cultivate indoors because there's no UV rays. I forgot what disease it was, but they set up everyone outside because they wanted to minimize the infection because they found out the sun was killing a lot of the bacteria and the virus or whatever it was. Can't remember which disease it was. So I would hope, even if it's one airborne, that the sun could still kill it, which would minimize its airborne effect, right? So if it's airborne, you're hoping that if it's airborne, it stays indoors, right? So that if it's in the hospitals airborne, that's one thing. But if it's airborne and resistant to the UV rays, that's an entirely different ballgame now. Now you're talking about staying away from people, period. And hopefully building a HEPA system or something that's going to help, because if it's airborne and resistant to the sun, that's 100% infection rate right there. Like everyone would get it.
Yeah, I mean, the only way to not get it is just to be so far away from population that, I mean, you're literally miles out in the mountains and nobody else is with you.
Right.
That's a
You're
tough
like Mount Everest kind of shit. Like just stay away from everyone else and hoping no one can get to you.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Has anybody seen the incubation period on this in particular? Like how long they estimate from the time of exposure to when you become sick?
They only said 90 days from the time you're exposed till you die. I don't know what the incubation period is when you start showing symptoms.
90?
90 days.
Okay. So that's fairly long, but
that's very long, right? I mean, you have 90 days to go, shit, I'm going to die soon,
Okay.
as opposed to 15 days or 7, 90 days. It's like you get to think about it. You can put your life in order in 90 days.
Well, the hard part is do you know where you were at 90 days ago? Like, I have no idea where. I don't know that I could recreate, my steps and try to figure out where I was infected and all that.
Well, I don't think that 90 days was until you're symptomatic. He was saying that's how long people just survived after getting it.
Right. Symptomatic, I don't know.
The period between contracting it and becoming symptomatic, I think, is much shorter, probably a matter of days.
I would say so. I'm, like I said, now I'm looking at it here. They said little to no patient response or improvement with conventional fungal therapy. And everyone who's and here's the hard part. Not the hard part. Here's the ugly part. Going into a coma before you die. So how long are you in a coma now? Are you in a coma for 3 days? Are you in a coma for 60 days? So this thing seems to be all over the place. When in fact,
best case scenario too. I mean, under the civil society with the existing infrastructure, existing hospitals, and not thousands and thousands of people infected. So you get to lay in a bed, and you get people to feed you, nurses to attend you. So 90 days. So I suspect that would shorten if things got progressively worse. What advice would you give preparedness individuals watching this now if something like this was happening in their city? What preps do you think they should have in their vehicle on hand, or what steps or measures or precautions do you think they should take?
I think for now, as of right now, I would say just pay attention to this virus. Visit the CDC, like I would say once a week or every 5 days, whatever it is, and see where the numbers at. See which areas are being infected. Is the infection in your state or not? And if it is, how bad is it getting? Also pay attention to country. If you travel a lot, make sure it's not in the country you're going to, right? And if it's in that country, stay out of the hospital if you can help it, right? Right now, the infected countries are Japan, South Korea, India, Pakistan, South Africa, Kenya, Kuwait, Israel, Venezuela, Colombia, United Kingdom, Canada, and the United States. Those are the infected countries right now. So it seems to have gotten bigger because Kenya and Kuwait, when I looked a couple of weeks ago, were not on that list. Neither was Pakistan, actually. So it's obviously growing internationally. But
when we had our last chat, I think it was at 656 cases, and now it's at 1,056 or something.
Yes, sir. Right.
Yeah, so it had grown quite a bit from just a couple of weeks ago, but.
Well, I'm a little confused as to it started back in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
What are we? So almost 9 years, right?
Mm-hmm. 10 years. Yeah.
10 years now. Sorry. So 10 years, and now it's starting to make a move, an aggressive move now. In the last 2 years or whatever it was. So I don't know why it took.
Probably the Illuminati has weaponized it. It took them a little while to weaponize
it. What's the hand? Eric knows the hand symbol. What's the hand symbol?
Right?
We were talking about this earlier.
Illuminati hand signals.
Quiet.
Hey, so
it wouldn't be secret anymore.
So let's talk about the fun stuff, man. I want to hear about Doomsday Preppers. Do you think they really represented for those people who've seen your episode? I just watched it not long ago. talk to us about how they represented you as a whole and what your thoughts were on that.
I thought, well, first of all, I didn't think anything. I needed other people to verify for me whether or not they made me look like a kook or I came out okay. And for the majority of people who saw it, even firemen who like broke my chops from like here to Kingdom Come, they said that my segment wasn't too bad. Even the other guy who Tim Ralston, right before he blew off his thumb, even he looked good. But the rest, I needed to make sure that other people thought it was fine because I didn't like it initially. I still don't when I look at it now. But other people said it was okay. Even guys who, like I said, there were a lot of guys breaking my chops, but when they saw it, they were like, you know what? They didn't make you look too bad. It was fairly good. Not that they edited it to make me look better because I was a fireman. I don't know. I'd like to think so. But then they went off the deep end with other people and just, made them. But there was a cop on that show, and he looked pretty good. They didn't make him look like a kook. But then you had the kooks out there who looked like kooks. And, I mean, I don't know. I thought it was, from what everybody else said, they thought it was fine. To this day, I still don't like it. So that's pretty much where I stand.
Can you talk about how the process evolved with the volcano and the super volcano being your item of concern?
Well, the volcano part was entirely on me because I volunteered that information like an idiot. I should have just kept my mouth shut and just been like, you know what, I'm going to pick one of these three, and I should have stood my ground on the ones I wanted to do. When I opened my mouth and said super volcano, you can hear the female on the other side of the phone go, like, you can hear her perk up. She's like, oh, really? What is that? And so it started to damn it, and then she was like, well, what would happen if it exploded? And I was like, it would destroy a lot of the world just because of the darkening of the cloud. She was like, oh, so it would start like starvation, this, that, and the third. I think for the most part, but I kept telling her that can happen tomorrow, it can happen 5,000 years from now. So, yeah, it was stupid me on my part to volunteer that information. I wish I would have stood my ground on it a little more, but this is how you learn, right?
That's pretty wild.
To be
Definitely gonna have
fair,
to go back and watch this because I haven't seen very many episodes of Doomsday Preppers, so don't have anything to compare it to. But I'll have to check it out and see how I think they represented it.
Yeah. Listen, there was a way they could have done it, made us look good, but made it exciting. But I guess they chose the route of making us look like kooks. I mean, the zombie apocalypse thing, is that really going to happen? No. I appreciate that people do use it as a way to prep, but to solely live your life around that event happening, you're an idiot. The zombie apocalypse is not going to happen. Are there viruses out there that can mimic it, like a heightened rabies virus, like 28 days later?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Could they weaponize it and make people act like that? Absolutely. But is it likely to happen in our lifetime or anybody's lifetime? No. A virus like that would probably burn out too damn fast. Just in real life. The way 28 days later they had it just right. But in real life, it would burn out way too quick for it to be something.
You were in season 1 as well, from what I recall. I'll send you a link, Eric, to his episode.
I actually have to dip out, so I appreciate you coming on, man. You guys can continue going. I just want to say thanks to everyone. Make sure you smash the like button before you leave and subscribe to Che and the Angry Prepper channel as well. So
okay,
take it easy.
Cheers, man.
Yep. See you guys.
See you later.
So,
go ahead.
What was it like going through the process with that whole making the episode and all that kind of stuff? I mean, how much involvement did you have with what happened, and how heavy were they putting their fingers in things?
Well, which I didn't mention before, is they had to come twice. They had to shoot twice. Because the first time I gave them nothing because I told you that blade incident on the roof with the samurai sword. They wanted me
For the people who weren't with us beforehand, give us a little what they were wanting you to do.
So the show initially, when they first came for the first shoot, they wanted me to go on a rooftop at night with my samurai sword and swing it around. And my reply to them was, "I'm not Wesley Snipes. This is not Blade. We're not going to do that." And they were like, "Okay, well, what about if you just, held it in your hand?" I'm like, "No, I'm not going." So a lot of the stupid things they wanted me to do, I said no to. They wanted me to put my face against the plastic sheeting when I put it down because I was supposedly getting ready for the ash. So I had plastic sheeting come down, and they were on a fire escape filming, and they wanted me to put my face against the plastic. I'm like, this is not a horror movie. What are you kidding me? So there was a lot of like bickering on my part with them, and then they had to come back the second time. When they came back the second time, I told the guys, listen, we're not going to do anything stupid. We're not going to make this a horror movie. I said, bad enough, I'm already in the show. I don't want to compound it with stupid things you guys want me to do. And they were like, fine, that's okay. We just need more footage because a lot of the footage they took was just boring. And that's what the guy said. And now doing a show like that, if I did it again, I would absolutely have more control of what I say and how I say it so that they don't spin it around. Again, they didn't completely throw me under the bus. It wasn't, they did a decent job editing it, so I couldn't be mad at that. But there were a lot of things they wanted me to do that I can tell you right now, if you watch the other Prepper episodes, they had those guys do, and those guys said, okay, and they did it. And some of those guys got in trouble later on down the line, right? The guy who built a homemade bomb, he had the ATF visit him. There was a guy who smashed his car because he built some kind of a barrier thing on the front of his pickup, and he drove through a pile of logs on fire. So they had people do stupid things that were going to get people hurt, and or got people hurt, obviously. So if you're going to do that show, if it comes back and you're considering doing it, I would strongly advise you think about what you're going to say and what you want them to do before you accept their offer.
Cool. So the super volcano is very low on your list. What are your top 3 Doomsday scenario concerns, Jason?
Top 3. 1 being there's nothing we can do about it, and that's an asteroid smashing into us. The likeliness of that is very small as well, but that's something that's like the end game, like the true end game, right? Outside of that, there's the EMP, and then there's the financial collapse, right? We all watch what is happening to Venezuela, and I guess in movies, financial collapse happened really fast. But we've been watching Venezuela for the last 7 years, 8 years now, decline into this chaos that they're happening now. That is a concern, but at least with that, we can see it coming, and we can start throwing preventative measures to not end up going hungry, thirsty, and things like that. It's why we are prepared, so we don't end up like a lot of those people there. The third one would because the EMP and financial are number 2. The third one would be something like this virus going around, but that has a high mortality rate, whereas this, doesn't right now. But something with a high mortality rate that's like the Black Plague. Something like that showing its face up again would be a little alarming, a little scary.
Yeah, like a big pandemic, viral pandemic of some sort.
Right.
Yeah, and we are overdue for that. There's no question about that. As far as it's about an 80-year cycle on big pandemics, and we're quite a bit overdue. So,
well, you could also say AIDS was it. AIDS was in the 80s was a huge problem. I mean, there were millions of people died from it, or were infected and wind up dying from it. That you could probably throw that in there. People didn't because it didn't happen as fast.
Yeah, I mean, you were still, even though it was a lot, you were still that was less than 5%, 3% of the population, or you know what I'm saying? I mean, when like Spanish flu or whatever, what was that, like 35% of the population? Yeah. I mean, it was, pretty significant, but
But here's the other thing with something like that happening now, is that we're more, we have better communication now, right? So we start seeing something like that, let's say in China, the Chinese would communicate that to everyone else, and we would set things in motion to stop it or slow it down from happening. Spanish flu, there was really nothing they could have done until it got here, and then they were like, shit, what do we do? There was no real communication before it got here. Because that virus beat, let's say, whatever communication they were thinking about Sunday, it beat them here. But because we have the internet, we have cell phones, we have so many things now, I think a pandemic like that would have to be absolutely faster. I mean, way faster. And with the internet now, I think we are faster than any pandemic that's out there as of right now.
So we got a
Gentleman
question.
named.
Oh,
Go for it.
I was just gonna say we got a question from Bear Independent.
Bear Independence. Yes.
There's got a
Go
great
for it.
channel, you guys. Go check him out. He says, as a firefighter, what training does Jason recommend for civilians?
Pertaining to,
I think just in general, just the stuff that you've learned as a fireman. Do you think that there's some applicable things, as far as first aid, EMTs, whatever? I mean,
medical is always important. I think I was an EMT before I was a fireman, and medical is very important. I think that's something that every prepper should go out and get. Maybe you don't want to be an EMT, but you could definitely take a first aid class. The problem with taking medical classes like that is like, all right, you got first aid. Now what? You know what? Let me think about doing the EMT. Now you become an EMT. Now what? Paramedic. Then it keeps going because you want to be able to help people to the fullest. I stopped at EMT. Medic was just a little too much. Maybe you could read books on it. But medical training is one of the best. And then outside of being a fireman, the thing with being a fireman, the training with being a fireman is not firefighting, which anybody can actually do, to a point. And what I mean anybody could do, I mean the bucket brigade would go back into action if it was a total shit hits the fan, and let's say your neighbor's house is on fire, you'd go back into the bucket brigade system. As far as going in, that's only a selected few who are trained to do so. But I don't suggest people go out there and get training as a fireman. I suggest people go out there, get medical training and survival training. Because what if your house burns down? Now what? You have to adapt, right? Survival training, I think, is one of the best things you can absolutely do to further your life expectancy in the shit hits the fan scenario. Homestead, learning how to homestead, learning how to make your own jam, grow your own food. Absolutely one of the best things you can do, because you are not going to have your forever supply of canned goods and MREs. At some point, that's going to, if it's a prolonged disaster, you're going to run out of that stuff. So you need to know how to adapt and grow food, hunt. Those are like the trainings I tell people now. Me being a fireman, the only thing it trained me for was how to adapt in shitty scenarios, bad situations, right? So when there's a fire, we know how to adapt without panicking.
Sure. Operating under stress, yeah.
Right. And I think most people should take a course that's going to put you in a stressful situation, but you still have to operate. I took a Dave Canterbury course, and the second class, I think the second level of a wilderness survival, that was a little more stressful. And then the third was just, from what other people said, I didn't take a third course, they said it was just even more stressful. So you want to build up these stressful trainings. You want to be able to know that your mind, your mental toughness is there, because that's above everything that you want to train. Mental toughness is there. But you can have all the training in the world, but if your mental toughness is not there, you're not going to survive.
Yeah. That's the first lesson in class we used to teach at the survival school was the will to survive. And if you have the will to survive, then you can get through almost anything. You know what I mean? But some people who just give up and don't have it, and don't have that mental toughness like you're talking about. You could have all the preps in the world, but if you can't deal with the stress, you can't make decisions, under pressure and all those kinds of things, then it doesn't matter.
Right. Exactly.
So, given all that stuff you were talking about, I'm sorry, Shay. Go ahead. I interrupted you.
Go for it, man. No, it's all good.
I was just going to ask, you're currently in New York City, right?
Yes, sir.
So do you feel like are you trying to make plans to get out of the city? Or are you staying in the city? I mean, everybody has different family situations and job situations and all that kind of stuff. Are you looking to try to move out, or what do you think?
When I retire, I'll be
Yeah.
leaving. Yeah.
Gotcha.
You know, a couple of years ago, we were looking to getting a home, but here in New York, it is just outrageously expensive. The buying a home system here in New York is corrupt. It is the absolute worst. I go to other states and you look at the fees and the how you say, process of getting a home. It's way quicker and way less money. Here in New York, you want to look at a home, and the home you're looking at is about 200 grand, right? By the time you're done with all the other fees and processes, you're paying close to 300 grand because these stupid little things they throw at you, you know.
And then when you put that into the mortgage over 30 years, that's going to double again.
Right.
So, oh man, that's tough.
Right. So I the wife and I, we're just like, you know what, I have a few more. And I mean, we have to get out of the city sooner than that. But as far as like going somewhere where I have to deal with people, I have to wait till I retire.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, you're vested into that retirement system. You want to get that payback out of it. So, I mean, that I can understand that. Yeah, absolutely. Well, gentlemen, I need to get out of here, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I think we're gonna wrap it up. Jason, thanks for your time. I'm gonna put a link for Jason's channel in the description in a second. It's the Angry Prepper.
Right.
I want to thank Eric.
And you have
who joined us.
I put a link in there earlier. Do you have one that's urban and one that is rural?
Yes.
Is that what it is? Okay. I think I put the link in the chat then. So, all right, guys, I'll talk to you guys
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Jason, thanks very much for your time. Thanks for everybody that joined us.
Thank you.
Jason, I'll follow up with you on an email. If anybody has any future follow-up questions or things like that for myself or any of the other members that were on tonight, or Jason specifically, you can email me at info@ontariopreppers.ca. And Jason, it was fun. If we have a progression on this, will you join us in the future?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, man. Have yourself a good evening, and I'll be in touch with email next couple of days.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.